grade after Wednesday is gonna be your 3 tests, added together, divided by 3, like old school junior high grades. If you're happy with that grade, A, B, or C, go celebrate. If this is the last class you need to pass, go spend that time another time. Do whatever you want. If you're happy with your grade, you're done with me. If you're close, then you have the option during finals week, during the scheduled finals time, to take a cumulative final. I'm literally going to pull questions from exam 1, 2, and 3 and make a cumulative final. No new material. If you choose to take that 4th test, well, now everything's divided by 4. So it's your 4 grades added together, divided by 4. So don't look to Moodle to do the grading for you. It just has your raw grades. It just has your scores. You just take a calculator, take your phone, add them up, divide by 3, and then you can do simulations. Okay, what if I make a 85 on Wednesday? What would that be? So you can do those kind of grades. So don't ask me to do it for you. I have 120 students, so it's that simple, and I try to make it simple. And so, yeah, does that make sense? All right. I'm gonna send out an email. It's tough because I'll say it on the videos, but some people don't watch the videos. I'll put it in an email. Some people don't read emails, so I'm kind of running out of options for communication here. But I am offering, if you have makeups, I'm offering to give your makeup Friday morning at 6 or our regular scheduled makeup. So you can come Friday morning at 6 before class, basically. If you have if we worked out and that way you know what you have, you know what you need going into finals. Okay, and we have some athletes that are going to be leaving town during finals for track, so I wanted to afford that luxury to everybody. Not a luxury. That offer it. It's not a luxury. You have to leave town because of athletics or softball. 2 years in college and stuff. All right, let's talk. What do you want to talk about? Should be, the intent is for this test to be the most confident you've had of any test you've had, because it's the same concepts, just apply the new names, new muscles. Upper extremity, but we've went over it several times. Upper extremity, we have midway muscles that we don't have necessarily. We don't have as many here because we don't move as much here. This is about stability and brute force. Here is where we have a lot more movement, and so those muscles can switch function, a few of them. Come on in. So the day before the test, I always offer it up to you guys in case there's clarifications or concepts you want to talk about. So we can talk about the draft if you guys want. Care about whatever. NFL draft.
Question. How in the shoulder we like this. Hope your toward
Okay.
good job.
Oh, the horizontal.
Yeah.
Okay. Not good.
If we do that same thing, is it the same thing with the statin? Is it the lower abs?
Now, what a great question. So the scapula has its own set of rules, right? So for your scapula, you're still going to use all of the same muscles because they're going to all be trying to pull you to the spine. There are some nuances that you will not be accountable for your test with. Like if I'm already overly rotated, then there's certain retractors that are going to be shortened, or there's a neurological insufficiency like we did with the radial joint and elbow flexors, like multiple stuff that could be happening there that you wouldn't have. So if I'm here and I do, it would really be no different than doing like a prone butterfly. Oh gosh, that almost ended tragically. I'd still be using my scapular retractors. And if you say, well, how do you know the difference between shoulder and scapula? Well, that's going to be on the question. Which muscles would be working at the scapula for the retraction? Which muscles would be working at the shoulder for the horizontal abduction? So we analyze motion joint by joint, we analyze muscle joint by joint. So it'll just be communicated whether we're having a scapular conversation or we're having a shoulder conversation. You're very welcome. Very well. Yeah, they get some in grad school. You'll learn that these rotator cuff muscles in anatomical are just trying to spin. But when we get to this 90 degrees now, they're literally doing this. Right? They're still stabilizing here. So there's some other horizontal AV and ADs that can come about. But for the test, I'm like, look, how about 2 powerhouses in the front and 2 powerhouses in the back? And that's all we're going to hold you accountable for, just because we have so many horizontal AV and AD movement things. So we're just holding you accountable to the all stars. You're welcome. Speaking of all stars, man, it's crazy endings to some NBA games this weekend. Bro, Ant-Man came to play. That reminded me of like some old school Kobe Mike intensity. All right, sorry. Back to my autism sometimes just jets out. Gotta reel it in. Y'all feeling, I don't mean to assume, but I'm going to infer, are you feeling pretty confident going into Wednesday? I mean, there's no other way I could ask questions. Functions of this muscle. Here's an exercise. Identify an agonist and a contraction type. Say, all right, those are the elbow flexors. And that was extension, so it's eccentric. Let me see which one he listed was a flexor. So if that was the case, avoid the triceps, avoid the conius, and pick me out a flexor. Let's see. Yeah. Why don't help me? Because remember, some of our practice is also us practicing how to practice. So, so give me. You don't have to give me a specific exercise, but give me a group, or give me give me a group that we want to practice. Like elevators, depressors, protractors, retractors. What you think? Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do it. This is not copyrighted because my wife took this picture of me doing this exercise last week. A lot of times it's the lighting. So, oh, you guys. I'm just trying to see. So let's do isometrics. Not very good. Let's go to the sides. Let's do isometrics. So we analyze motion joint by joint. We analyze muscles joint by joint. Obviously, your Pavlovian brain wants to go right to shoulders, and that's okay. But if we're not having a shoulder conversation, then we need to say, okay, Pavlov, I get it, but we're not having that conversation right now. We want to have a scapular conversation. So we're going to have the same process. What is the external force trying to do to the scapula? Is it trying to upwardly rotate or downwardly rotate? Absolutely. So by process of elimination, I don't need downward rotation pullers. I need upward rotation pullers. And then your circles or your lists, or again, you could be you could be I didn't have circles when I was your age, but I had a unique ability to be able to visualize vectors and forces. This is a tool used to help you, bless you, help you remember the muscles. It's not to take the place of you being able to see them. You should be able to have some blend, some uh the overlap chart, right? Whether it's a list in circles overlapping with visuals. But who are the muscles that are pulling in a direction of scapular upper rotation, where your trapezius is a big one, all the fibers working as a force couple, and then your serratus anterior is a big one. If you observe upward rotation, so like say the question is, I wanted to find one where like we could really see the muscles, but let's say I did a before and after. I was trying to find a posterior view, but I guess this is it. It's the movie Shrek. That'll do, kid. That'll do. So if I asked about the scapula, say, well, during this exercise, gravity's trying to downward rotate. I need my upward rotators. From left to right, I have upward rotation. Upward rotators do upward rotation through concentrics. On the way down, that's downward rotation. Upward rotators do downward rotation through eccentrics. So remember, the way I try to teach this is your agonist is like is the intersection of the important information. All roads lead to Rome. It all really intersects with agonist. You get your agonist, and then from there you can say, who are the muscles in that group? But those specific muscles have nothing about pull in their name. So it's really hard to do the whole contraction game with those specific muscles. Trapezius doesn't scream upward rotation pullers, right? So when it comes time to do the contraction part, come back to the agonist. Upward rotators do upward rotation through concentrics. Upward rotators do downward rotation through eccentrics. Does that make sense? Now you could say, well, would there be some elevation involved? Yeah, but if I'm asking about upward rotation, I'm going to be very clear. But if you just wanted to hit those elevators, you would just, just do shrugs, right? The upward rotators are literally helping to reposition the socket so that your shoulders can stay articulated at the shoulder joint. So if I'm going to just ask you a question about elevators or depressors, it's either going to be a shrug or like if you were doing a dip and you use your depressors to kind of depress when the dip is trying to elevate you. Like that, it would be linear. It'd be more linear. I'm going to ask rotational things of the scapula when we do shoulder stuff. Let's reverse it. So we did I want to get the answer. Let's do. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's do isometrics first. Trying to find different ways to ask questions. So let's say isometrics at the scapula, and then I'm going to give you two different sets of options. Let's do elevators or depressors first. Holding this position. And let's just pretend realistically. Let's say I'm doing it. So we have like the whole the whole stack of weights trying to bring my hands up. All right, 20s. My point is that this is a big dude. So let's just pretend that there's a lot of weight trying to make it helps us to really visualize what's happening when we can kind of go to extremes. My wife says I go to extremes too often. However, to me, that helps me to answer the question. If you know the extreme, it's like, is it blue or green? It's blue green. Give me blue or give me green. I struggle with the in between. Do I need elevators or depressors? Good, good. Out of those two, I'm not disrespecting other things we may need. I'm just saying out of those two, it makes sense. I need depressors because the bar is trying to elevate.
Yeah, so that elevation is power.
Correct. Now, correct. So tilt, not on the test, graduate school, what we call scapula tilt is a combination of protraction and elevation. So, but in terms of just if I gave you pick between elevation pullers or depression pullers, I'm hoping that we could see I need depression pullers. That's it, just out of those two options, right? Now let's play the same game with upward and downward rotation pullers. To hold this position, do I need upward rotation pullers or do I need downward rotation pullers of our scapula? Give it some thought. Okay, upward or downward? Downward. And again, downward, those muscles are. You just look or learn, or so that's why I'm not spending a lot of time on them because that's kind of memorized stuff. What if he was leaning back a little bit more and you could really see that the cable was trying to protract or retract him? So if he leaned back a little bit more, would he need protractors or retractors in that case? Retractors. Is that simple? And those muscles are. What about shoulders? Does he need flexors or extensors holding that position? Extensors, absolutely. Machine's trying to flex him. If he turned on his flexors, he'd be pushing up the bar. What about at the elbow, flexors or extensors? Flexors. So on the test, I can do, I'm twirling my evil handlebar mustache like they do in the movies. On the test, I can give you an isometric example. That is, the exercise is trying to influence multiple upper extremity joints. And I could say, identify an agonist that's working isometrically to hold this position at the elbow and the shoulder. And I might say brachialis and posterior deltoid, brachialis and anterior deltoid, triceps brachii and posterior deltoid. I mean, it literally is what we just did, but just worded in a way to show me you understand what we just did. All right, what else you want to talk about? Do you mind saying it one more time? What about it? Yeah, no problem. No problem. So the brachioradialis. So what I want you to do is go to your materials and muscles of the elbow and radial. Put it out and look at there's brachialis, biceps brachii. All right, brachioradialis. So this muscle gets its name from, it originates in the brachial part of the arm, brachial pulse, brachial artery, brachial part of the arm, and it runs along the radius. It attaches to the distal radius. It does not cross the wrist. So So this little bony knob called a radial style. Okay. Elbow function, it's an elbow flexor because it crosses the elbow in the front. It is a radial ulna joint influencer because it pulls on the radius and the radius rotates about the ulna. Right? In a semi-prone position, like this position right here, think of that muscle as a rectus abdominis. In other words, straight. Just like your abs would be straight. Mine kind of takes the heel to get to where it's going. When we supinate from midway, we literally make it into an oblique. We give it some angle. Just like if I was here and I twisted to the right, that rectus that would normally run straight now has obliquity to it. It has an angle to it. So in a supine position, or in a previous lecture I said quadrant 1, fully supine to midway, that obliqueness pulls in a direction of pronation. It's a pronation puller from anatomical to right before semi-prone. Because once we're at semi-prone, there's no more angle, there's no more obliqueness. So the brachioradialis is a pronation puller in quadrant 1 from anatomical right before semi-prone. Okay. Here's semi-prone, rectus abdominis, straight, no obliquity, no angles. If I twist to the left, once again, I have obliquity. So if I'm semi-prone and I pronate from semi-prone, now all of a sudden that muscle is a supinator, but only to when it's straight again, right? So this semi-prone position is sometimes called the midway position, because if you full pronation, supination is 180 degrees, so halfway would be 90. A very functional position that we find ourselves in. So between 0 and 89, it's a pronator, and between 91 and 180, it's a supinator. The trick is that it can't be a pronation puller and a supination puller at the same time. That's not how muscles work, right? Muscles can only pull. So if I'm in quadrant 1, it can be a pronator. It doesn't mean it's going to work. It just means if I need pronators and I'm in that quadrant, brachioradialis is like, I can play, I can help. If I need a supinator and I'm in quadrant 2, brachioradialis is like, I can help. But if I need a supinator in quadrant 1, brachioradialis is like, dude, I can't push you. I can't push you that way. And I'm not in a position to pull you down. I can only pull you here. So if it's a pronator in quadrant 1, it can't be a supinator in quadrant 1. If it's a supinator in quadrant 2, it can't be a pronator in 2. So that's how it works. Now, the reason you have some midway muscles is extra help. I didn't hold you accountable for it, but it's like your rectus. Your rectus isn't a transverse puller in anatomical, but when you're at the extreme of these range of motions, doesn't it make sense to have some extra help preventing you from twisting too far to your right or preventing you from twisting too far to your left? It can do both. If I'm over here, it can pull me back this way. And if I'm over here, it can pull me back that way. So that's where these midway muscles kind of evolve, is that it gives you extra help in your ends of your range of motion. I like to, I think in class I used either the string or the TheraBand, like, it doesn't attach to your thumb, but it's just convenient to use the thumb. So in a supinated position, it's a pronation puller. And in a fully prone position, it's a supination. You see the obliquity. And then here, there's no obliquity. Straight. Did that help? You're welcome. is still have, just in case, if you're studying tonight and you get tricked on something, all the videos are all on the YouTube channel. Just go back and relearn it or rehear me tell it. We give examples, we give specific examples. And literally my cell phone number is in the syllabus if you have questions. Just don't wait till Tuesday night. I'm old, I go to bed early. So if I get emails and questions Tuesday night, I'm probably not gonna get an answer. But if it's tonight or tomorrow, send those questions my way, clarifications my way. Yeah, that's a good one for this one. I love that example to show how the biceps brachii is a supinator. I just love that picture. So I think in class, what I asked you to do is put your hand on your muscle to literally feel how it's shortening when you supinate. Like you can feel how it shortens. That's kind of neat. Like, oh, okay. Because if it shortens when you do the motion, it makes sense. It's pulling that way, right? So you could literally feel it shorten and lengthen as you pronate and supinate. So that's why that's in there. It's to show you how it's pulling on the radius. And it's on the inside of the radius. So it's literally trying to unwrap your radius. When the radius wraps around the ulna, it's trying to unwrap it. Might be taking, well, I know y'all have other classes, but is there anybody who might be taking their last test on Wednesday? Like your last test here at UL on Wednesday, last one? Awesome. No pressure. All right, in that case, we're gonna have 125 questions, multiple choice.
That's was, it is, yeah.
We had in grad school at Southern Miss, when I was working on my master's, we had a professor that did multiple choice. Exactly. This is how it works. There could be no right answers. There could be one right answer. There could be two right answers. They could be all right answers. And you had to get it right to get the whole question right. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Something you got right.
I didn't have to get them all right. You just had to get enough right to pass. Like the evidence. It did help that my wife babysat he and his wife's dogs when we were there, so that got me some extra dollars. Don't hate the player. Being in athletic training though actually helped me because we were doing a lot of traveling with softball, and so we're at the airport a lot. There was just a lot of downtime, so I mean I was able to do a lot of studying where it's sitting around. Anything else, you guys? Got 20 minutes. Now listen, that doesn't mean we have to talk for 20 minutes. If you're done with me, I'm done with you. So we don't have to, it's just, remember these sessions are just to make sure you have a chance to get last minute things clarified going into this last test. Okay. Last call. Last call. Anybody want to bid it? Anybody want to get a last call?
I'll do it.
So What's that? What? Yeah, I got auctions usually every week. That's my service to my community.